Joining us now, Republican Congressman Steve King, still standing by Donald Trump. Congressman, good to have you. This morning, there's a picture we have of the now 26 or 32 big shots within your party office holders who are withdrawing from overtly supporting Trump. Your face is not up there. Why not? We know that you don't support the kinds of things that came out on that tape. You'd never say anything like that.
Well, I wouldn't. And I wouldn't say that none of us have back in college years, but neither would anyone defend that statement, including Donald Trump. And so I don't say either that an apology absolves everything, but he has apologized, and he's shown the first signs of humility that Donald Trump has shown throughout his entire campaign. And I go back to that Thursday evening when Donald Trump gave his acceptance speech in Cleveland. And point after point after point in that speech I agreed with. If we're going to move a conservative Republican platform agenda, the best way to do that is with the President Trump. So I'm sticking with him, and I think that's the best place for conservatives to be. And I think most of the faces on that chart that you're showing, or the names, are going to be people that are much closer to the left side of the Republican Party than those that are the solid conservatives in the party.
Well, but you had some big name. You know, John McCain has never been called a lefty. But you said back in college, you know that he was 59 years old. This isn't about what he said back in college. And you weren't always a Trump guy. You know, you wanted somebody else. You didn't think Trump was the right guy. What has changed since then for you? How has he proven himself to you, given all we've learned about him?
Chris, it really comes down to this. When you get down to the nomination, there are two nominees, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And I've said to people that on the floor of Congress, I have an opportunity to vote yes or no on any bill that comes to the floor, depending on whether I agree with the policy and whether I believe it's constitutional. But I don't get a yes or a no for president. I only get a yes. And I look at the two candidates, which one will move the agenda in the right direction, which one will move the agenda in the completely wrong direction. That's our choice. We only get to vote yes. And I'm hearing from some of my Republican colleagues and some of the leadership that they aren't really telling me how they're going to vote. They just say they're not going to any longer actively support and campaign for Donald Trump. I think that's a mistake. I think that drags the entire ticket down. I think if we support our presidential candidate and the platform and the agenda, then that lifts everybody up. The better Donald Trump does, the better everybody out here on the ticket does all across America.
Are you worried that someday people are going to ask you why you were for Donald Trump then, that it's not just about winning elections, it's about holding on to your integrity, and that some of the men and women in your party are saying, even if we lose the majority, it's not worth it for me to back somebody who I think could do something to harm this democracy?
Well, I would ask them on the other side of this argument, what does it do to your integrity to help Hillary Clinton become president, and we see 1, 2, 3, or maybe more appointments to the Supreme Court? You see the Constitution itself destroyed by decisions made at the Supreme Court and the federal bench level, as we watch a mess in foreign policy, as you watch Obamacare become a single-payer plan that is completely socialized medicine. It's mess after mess with Hillary Clinton, and not to mention the things that happened to 60 million babies since Roe versus Wade. You'd see that many again, and on the results of this, you'd see your Second Amendment rights be diminished or maybe destroyed completely. This is not a hard decision. It's a binary decision. It's either a yes vote, and it's either yes for Hillary Clinton or it's yes for Donald Trump. I can defend that. I can defend that all of my lifetime, and I'm hopeful that a lot of my colleagues will see that the same way.
Let me ask you something. We understand that Donald Trump has been getting intelligence briefings. Among the things discussed was that the U.S. government believes that Russia has been trying to motivate hacking of these different varieties that we've seen, maybe even with the WikiLeaks. Who knows for sure. But he's been told that. And yet he gets up at one of his rallies and he, I guess, pretends that he doesn't know whether it comes from Russia or not, that he doesn't think there's any proof. Now, forget about why he would defend Russia against hacking. Does it concern you that he could have gotten intelligence briefings and then basically denied that information for his own political perspective?
Well, that's an interesting question, Chris, and of course I don't have any idea whether he's gotten intelligence that would indicate whether the Russians are trying to hack.
Well, let's assume he has. If it turns out to be wrong, the reporting, then we'll take it back, we'll apologize because it's a bad inference. But if it's true that he has been told Russia is behind the hacks, he then goes out and says, we don't know. if Russia's behind the hacks? What to you?
Well, I just can't answer that question because I don't have any knowledge base behind that. But I am thinking also when you raise the question about the WikiLeaks that have been dumped out there, that Donna Brazile was leaking information across the line from the DNC over to the Hillary campaign. We've watched what's happened with Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the assistance that the DNC gave to Hillary's nomination. So I think that House on that side of the aisle ought to be taking care of their own house. It looks like there's plenty there for them to be concerned about. As far as I'm concerned, at this point yet, it's still a rumor with regard to the Russians. It's been just getting a little bit more persistent. But I just have no facts to work with on that, and it's hard to speculate, Chris.
I got you, Congressman King. Thank you very much. Politics is a dirty business. Imagine if they got Reince's emails back when Trump was fighting his way through the primary field, what they would say. It's a dirty business. Congressman King, always a pleasure to have you on New Day.
It's a rough business this time especially.